Hey, so we had some technical issues with getting the audio out on both me and Tim, and so that's why we are a little bit delayed, but hopefully everything will be smooth sailing from now. So welcome to a live session on Boa University. Q&A, we have Tim here at the facility, super happy to have him here. As you all know, he's always very busy with his seafood stuff, but exciting to have him here. We have 3 founding members with us, joining us on the live, and this is broadcasted as a live session on Skool, but we are also broadcasting it on YouTube, and I think it should be broadcasted on Facebook and Instagram also, because it was his idea. And, so I'm blaming him for the technical issues at the start. Yeah.
Totally fine, I'm used to it.
Yeah. So let's dive into have a look at our founding members that are joining us. So we have Caleb, Thomas, and Ralph. How are you guys doing?
Fabulous.
Doing well.
Very good, thanks.
Perfect. So I was thinking, since you guys are with us live, I was thinking that I know Thomas has some question prepared, and if either Caleb and Ralph that we're going to start, then I have some other questions from some of the members in Boa University that I'm going to go over afterwards. Questions from students in Boa University is going to be prioritized during the live stream, but you can also on other platforms ask questions. And then later we're also going to talk a little bit about what Boa University is and hear a little bit of like the founding members' experience of it. So who feels that they want to go first with a question? Hands up.
I can
go first.
What's that?
Thomas,
So
go
Thomas,
first.
I think you had the prep question. I think you're up first, boss.
Well, I've got a few questions that I had presented already to Stefan, and no, not in any specific order. And these are just general discussion topics, more or less. Other than I think the big one was why he chose the platform of Skool, but I think he's going to get into that in a little bit later. So let's start with this one that can be a little more complex, but boa feeding, frequency, maybe some history, prey items, like do you guys ever change up your prey, or do you stick with rodents, and so on and so forth. And the effects of power feeding, which we sort of had several minutes ago.
Let's see, I saw that they are saying that they don't have audio from you guys on.
Okay.
Let's see. Can you guys talk and someone on the Boa University just confirming that they hear it now? Because now I changed the setting. So if you just repeat the question, Thomas.
Yeah, sure. Maybe we can start out just by talk about feeding boas from like birth up through adults, frequency, and I think everybody has some different ideas of their feeding schedules and what they do. Mine may be a little bit different than others, might be a little more frequent, infrequent, and I just find it interesting when you, like in a lot of forums, talk about feeding, and we still have people that unfortunately are power feeding their boas, and they're growing them way too rapidly and then wonder why they pass away at a young age. And so there's always that effect that's been proven, and that is not just limited to boas, but I think every species across the board.
Do you feel you want
They hearing us
Shall
yet?
we continue or shall we wait?
Let's see.
It depends on. I mean, I can just continue.
Hang on.
So apparently we still have some issues that
Right.
guys on Instagram and YouTube can't hear us, but let's just go ahead. It's also still recording, isn't it?
Yeah, it's recording.
Sweet. It's for sure a very complex topic. That's for sure. And I've heard over the years, like every kind, like power feeding, but there are also other guys that are like, oh, my boa isn't growing, like I have a 4-year-old and it's like I need to convert it like 1.20 meters. So what is it, 4 foot?
Yeah, 120
roughly.
4 foot.
So 3-4 foot, because they never exceeded the prey size above adult mice, and they were wondering why the boa is not growing. So and on the other hand, you have those guys that the moment a boa looks like it just started digesting, then you can just keep feeding 3 days later. And I can only tell, like from our experience, I mostly stick to feed, like when we talk about baby boas, I started feeding like hopper mice 1 per week, but it never can be like fixed. It really depends on the animal, so you need to check the animal. Is it in shed? Does it look good? Is it still digesting? And so on and so on. Or sometimes if you it's not like just only the frequency that you need to pay attention to. Sometimes if you just choose a prey that is way too big, then you have the next challenges when they vomit, and then you really need to start to be very, very careful, because then it's probably the best to wait 3 to 4 weeks so the animal and like the stomach can calm down. And many people are freaking out, like, oh no, what happened? I need to feed again tomorrow. And
Right.
then it happens over and over again, and then you have a big mess, and it will become more and more difficult to like normalize the feeding behavior. And especially like once they vomit, then you really need to reduce the size of the prey. It's like wait for 3 to 4 weeks and reduce the size of the prey to avoid any complications.
Guys.
Now it is away, but I'm not sure if I can still hear.
There were some technical issues here. Too much going on.
That was spooky.
I think I solved. I
was-
should have solved the problem for Skool platform also, but let's see.
I just wanted to let you know I checked YouTube while you were giving that description on the feeding, and it looks like the volume was coming through well on there when Thomas was talking. So just giving you some feedback.
Perfect. I'm not sure. Like I just changed one setting for.
I will say this is not necessarily isolated. I've watched lives where other social media presenters were trying to broadcast over YouTube and another platform, and they would run into the same problems of trying to get, and it was always audio that they had to fight with to get it fixed.
Yeah, I'm not sure because like the whole solution we're doing now has worked fine previously, so it's probably something with the broadcast to the other channels that's messing things up, because it's the same setup that we used for previous live sessions. To the members, jump on YouTube, because apparently everyone can hear everything fine on YouTube, so it's the perfect thing. You can still have like the window and ask the questions in the chat for Boa University, since those are going to be prioritized. So just not sitting here watching me trying to fix the problem. We do it with the solution, since apparently it works on the other platforms, and we'll go from there. So I didn't really listen. I just, I know you talk feeding, so I was concentrating trying to fix the audio problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we were just
I
kind of.
Yeah, go ahead.
How often do you weigh your
Just,
snakes? I mean, I focus quite often on a percentage of body weight, especially with the smaller snakes. But it's an ordeal to go around and weigh all of them regularly. Do you guys often weigh in to see how they're progressing before moving up, or do you just judge it by eye?
I would say I never weigh a snake, just go by eye. Only time is if it's like a customer client that is like really, I want to know the exact weight of it, then we would weigh it. Otherwise, we don't weigh our snakes at all. More going like for feeding, like the girth of the snake and the prey item, and yeah, looking like fat depots and the muscle tone, deciding on like when to move up. Yeah.
and it's,
Same here.
I think
Never
that's
weighed snakes
real-
when it comes to feeding.
Yes, Thomas.
What was that? Oh, I was going to say, I think that's really common in the boa industry is we don't weigh our snakes as often. Now, I will, and especially you guys are working with a lot more snakes than probably some of us. I don't have nearly that, so it's really easy. I do track weights, lengths monthly, just to keep track of growth rates in that. And it is kind of interesting because everybody's on the same, within age groups, they're all on the same feeding cycle. And so it is unique to watch how they grow differently, even though they're on the same feed. And it just shows that every animal is just a little bit different. Most of my snakes grow about an inch a month, maybe just a little bit more from time to time. When they hit a big growth spurt, they might grow 2 inches in 1 month. And I have one little guy who just grows a ½ inch a month, and he stays steady at that. It's never been any more. It's never really been any less. That's just how he grows. He's also hat leopard. That may have an influence in there. I don't know. But I have another female that's hat leopard, and she grows just great as all the others.
Yeah, it absolutely depends. Like, even animals from the same litter, it depends on the sex.
Yep.
It depends on the birth size. Sometimes you have twins born, and they grow
Right.
so much slower. And sometimes you have animals, they are like almost 50% bigger than all the other babies, and they are like machines. They just watch mice, and then they're growing. And
Right.
so it really
I-
it's super different.
I have a male who is like that. I mean, he doesn't even get large. He probably gets smaller prey than he should. He is solid. He grows like crazy. And he's the biggest one of the 6 1.5-year-olds that I have. And he just grows and grows and grows.
So,
Yes, Caleb.
is it okay if I take us into maybe a different topic? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So we were talking the other day, and we've been looking at the potential for shed testing and what that's going to kind of bring to the market. And I watched and I want to say it was Trap Talk the other day, and looked at kind of what they were discussing. And a big point there, and I wanted to get your take on it, is this idea that maybe we could upgrade the pedigree of our pedigree potential of reptiles, specifically boas, through the use of genetic testing, so that over time we could say, for example, in ImperatorMorphs, you guys would have different lines of boas that would be genetically stable as you created them, and definable for your different lines, whether that's your red dragon line or if that was your habanero line, and that those could be pedigreed to the point that they could be registered, so that your line could be held distinct and maybe carry more value over time than just a line that's been muddied and crossed and other things. Is that something that you see viable, or is that something that you think is far-fetched?
I definitely see that far-fetched, that you were going to get that far. To my understanding now, also, I think it's a bit of a misconception with the release of the shed tests, that they are going to have release if it's 4 or 5, but it's for validation. And like this is the whole thing. When they did it on ball pythons in the past, to my knowledge, they had quite a lot of help from Justin at Kinova and also other breeders. But the process with the ball pythons is like they can breed the females when they are 2, so like the validation process is so much faster. I actually have the intention to give them a call during next week to one way help out that we are actually have the possibility to supply sheds on like really complex combos, and that along with what we, at least I heard like 2 years ago, that the boas were so complicated compared to the ball pythons to determine the same as they have had like determine the sex on like the green tree pythons. So I definitely think like until we have the shed test as a final result, that it's reliable, that we know that the test results are solid and you can stand behind them, I think we are still like at least 2 to 3 years away. I can be wrong, definitely, but I think like with the validation now, and to my understanding that the genome that they used to create the normal is probably also having call in it, makes them maybe need to restart a little bit. But I definitely like until we have a reliable result on the shed tests, on just the genes themselves, I still think we're not going to see that coming now, and like going so deep on just shed tests that you will be able to like define different lines. Like in the future it's probably possible, the advancement in technology and everything like can probably make it possible, but I definitely think that is something that is quite far away from us.
But it would be super cool.
Yeah, it would definitely be like super cool. It would definitely like bring some serious value.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything that's coming. I don't think it's anything that's coming quickly to a store near you. I think it's one of the things that's a possibility down that road, as they're able to advance the science that goes with it. And so we'll see how that plays out. But I know that the validation process, when I talked to Dr. Ben, that part of what he was saying is that depending on what you're sending in, for example, if you have a shed for a female that's an adult female that is visual, and you send that in and you're doing a visual to visual pairing, then we can get some confirmation. I mean, it's not necessarily a 4-year or 3-year waiting period to be able to get that confirmation. We get boas that are born out of that breeding, and we can confirm call, and we can confirm sharp and blood, and some of those we should be able to confirm relatively quickly. At least that's what their hope is. And in relation to the genome being more complicated, I think that was something they were definitely concerned about. But I think it's coming along a lot better than what everybody thought. Part of the reason for that is, in albinos, just as an example, the albino sequencing and where that gene breakdown is as far as for the protein synthesis, it's pretty common in the same general area of the genome. And so it sounds like they've got, at least sharp, that they've got that one figured out to where they're pretty close on it. And I'm hoping that they're going to be able to give us something, because we're finding, or at least we've had some issues here lately where there's some call and sharp mixing, and that's causing some pretty interesting confusion. And I'd love to be able to make sure that we got that worked out the other way. But time will tell. We do have to prove it out. So.
Yeah, it's definitely from the post made of, I believe it was a paradigm blood Aztec. I saw from that litter that apparently, because there you can see when it was like visual sharp to visual sharp bred, but you still got normals in it, tells you that you have call in it. And that is what I think can have created a bit of the problem for them when creating the test, that due to like this is coming up, like we had, for instance, in one of our lines, we bought a male outside from, no knowledge at all, and this was on BPI, T positive, so it's easier than when you distinguish that you have a T negative in it. But when it's a surprise, and that I think like creates the problem when they are developing the shed tests a bit also, because you're disclosing that these genes are inside the animal, but in reality there are other genes affecting like the protein distribution and everything. But it definitely like hearing what they said 2 years ago, I definitely didn't think that we would be at the point we are today. So they are definitely advancing a lot quicker.
Awesome. Thank you, boss.
Sweet. I'm going to take a question from Jonathan in the community. Let's see. So, what are the pros and cons of sharing pairings and project plans, and more specifically, why big breeders try to keep what they're doing under wraps and then trying to create hype? Why is it better if it's a financially not to share plans if it is? So sharing plans or not?
Yeah, in the end, the thing is that sharing plans can also create a hype in advance, and like so many pairings didn't work out, and then you have like a lot of requests, and like, oh yeah, I wanna have, can you put me on the waiting list, can you put me on the waiting list, and you basically talk about something that never happens, or not never, but at least at this point. And so I definitely didn't like to talk about this, and will never. Like the moment there is a beautiful litter, then you have something to talk about. But in advance, that might be and may be, and even especially like just thinking of the Glacier project, Habanero project, myself, I've been disappointed over and over and over again, because like, oh yeah, I'm breeding a triple head to a triple head, and then you end up with nothing, a bunch of pos heads, and I don't need 50 people that I bring my own disappointment. I like, yeah, didn't work out again and again and again. So so this is yeah, that's the life of a breeder, and you like to keep the pain for yourself sometimes.
Definitely agree on that. For sure, you can definitely like post like pics, but like you see some that are really trying to hype, where it's like time after time after time, it's the same like pairing that is promoted on different social media channels, and like it's just fine, and like there's people that's setting up waiting lists and stuff like that, and like we usually quite often get requests that, oh, can I be on the waiting list? But there's no waiting list, like
yeah, especially because there's no point. Like, what are we talking about? Like I already had a litter just full of males or full of females, and then you are like, okay, what, you want a male? I only have females available. Like, so that I never like to talk about in detail as soon as I have like a ident number on it, as the animals are sexed, and you picked your holdbacks. That's like the pleasure of breeding. Then it's like, then you have something to talk about, and then you know, okay, I have 3 females, and also like especially the moment you have the babies, you have identified the sex, you have the ident number, like basically everything is set, and you know, are they in a good condition? Are they feeding well? Because there is no point to talk about a just born baby and like sex it right after it's been born, and be like, yeah, I can put it aside for you. No, that is like, at least, I mean, this is like a personal preference. I never had like the desire to do this, because it's causing more communication problems and issues and everything. The moment you are realizing, okay, it's a different sex, it's not feeding well, or there are any other issues, and then you have to like turn back the wheel.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I know that there's people that are like taking deposits to be on the waiting list, and definitely is, in my opinion, like just the whole story with like accounting. If you are supposed to do this the right way, I really don't see it.
It's just not the way that we like to do it.
Yeah, and I think if I could take add another little view, looking
I'm
at the
going-
business side of, if you're working on a project that is new and you don't think anybody is doing it, or maybe they're not doing it quite the way you think would be most successful, when you broadcast what you're doing to the general public, to everybody around you, especially if you think this is something new, then other people are going to get on the bandwagon and start doing the same thing. There's a reason companies have trademarks on stuff. There's a reason companies keep certain recipes secret, because they don't want anybody else doing what they're doing, at least not for a while, which is why a lot of times you see people create something new and they keep refining it. They just keep holding back, and they don't put the visuals up for sale or even talk about them, because they know they're the first ones to actually produce that, and they want to keep that until they're able to actually then start releasing parts of the project or letting people know, and they're ahead of the game. They're creators of that game, and
I definitely
reward
understand
could
your
be-
point, but for example, it really depends on, because for some projects, we are not hiding that we want to produce a IMG, what was it? IMG VPI Snow Glow Sterling.
Yeah.
And it's such a special project, and it's such a long-term project and we are already so many years in that I have no problem at all to talk about it.
Sure.
Because I don't have, I'm not scared that someone is jumping on this train, because especially if you're talking about multiple recessive animals, it gets so hard to,
Yeah.
to be faster.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like you get to a point like, sure, it's always cool, and it will always be like a cool feeling to produce world firsts, but it's like not the important part of it either. There's like a lot of projects that it could have been maybe like progressed faster if we didn't care about like the quality of each individual trait, gene, lineage that goes into it. And this is where like I definitely feel like if you think that you have something that is new, before like pushing it out there, you should really breed it out to figure out if it is a single gene or if it's polygenic. Today, like it's been the case for a long time, that it's quite quickly that people are slapping a name on it and throwing it out on the market. And I actually get a little bit scared when you see like quite established names in the hobby that have had a project for 10 years and still not can tell what it is. They are still guessing that, oh, I think it's this. It probably is, but I'm not sure. That to me becomes a little bit scary. Then you don't really have a plan, like when breeding something out. Like breeding different traits out is definitely boring. And talking like recessives, especially, not actually a huge difference, but like in those cases, you would really like to have a normal wild-type boa with no heads to breed them to determine if it's recessives or if it's incomplete dominant or dominant. Or then later on, like, oh, it's just another polygenic thing, because there's a lot of polygenic things that has been people that has put name on it, and they being sold, and also like they are listed on morph market as morphs, where I don't think there are morphs. I'm just going to share a comment from Matt at American Made Exotics, since he's quite big at breeding ball pythons and doing a lot of shows, about the question about taking deposits. I'm superstitious about it myself now. If I take money on an animal before it's established, I can guarantee it will be the one of the handfuls every year that don't thrive. And yeah, that's most likely the case. The bad luck game.
Often the beauty.
Yeah.
Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law, that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
So any more questions from you that are on the call?
Ralph, did you want to take a swing at one for us, boss?
I hadn't got one on the prepared, but there was a conversation that was on the community the other day that I thought was really interesting. I think it was Dominic that shared it when he was asking about if you were going to invest into a new project and you were buying animals, was it better to put your money into a female and males which were more hets, or would you go for the male? I found that was a really interesting conversation. And there were a lot of different perspectives. I personally erred on the side of the male because I thought it could go to more females, but there was some good conversation about that. I don't know if Stefan, you want to talk a little bit about what you shared as well, but or some of the others. It was really interesting, the different perspectives.
Yeah, so like the perspective I like, in general, it's going to be like the availability that will steer the direction if it goes females or males. Like most of the time you're not lucky, so like if you're producing it yourself, you're getting females, and that most likely is going to be what is going to be made available. And looking at like multi-recessive projects, there's more likely that it's going to be visible females made available compared to males, due to the males can breed much earlier, and then you're going to get an increase in supply on the market, and the market will eventually drop. So that's why it's more common that you see breeders selling like females than males in that instance. Of course, if you could choose, like for instance, like I definitely more rather take another hypo spectre male compared to female, and that's due to like we have a lot of het spectre females, and the possibility with the male is that you can introduce it to, for example, we can breed it to a VPI Aztec, then we at least create the VPI Aztecs that are 100% het BAA, like for example. So it's easier to like broaden the project into like different pattern morphs if you want that, but in general I would say it's the availability. Like measuring the risks, there are risks involved. Both males and females can pass. Sure, the risks on females are slightly higher, but yeah, nothing like super big. Any thoughts, Tim?
Yeah, in the end, it's like, as so often, it's not that easy to give a general answer to this, because it totally depends on the stock that you have, that you already have. Like, and then it is like, do you want to introduce a complete new recessive trait? Then I would definitely go with starting with females first. Most of the time probably I will go with non-visual females to establish this, and then later on get a visual male. If you are about to introduce, let's just pick an example, if you want to introduce Labby to your stock, then obviously it makes sense to pick a male if you have proper females already in place. Like for me, like regardless, if you start to if you wanna found a stock, if you wanna build up the stock from scratch, then I would always start with females first. So it really depends on like the situation you are currently in, the stock you already have, and then I would recommend different strategies for this. So there cannot be a general answer to this. But if I already have like let's say beautiful VPI, Sunglow female and Red Dragon female, and then you want to introduce like Labby. It always depends on what's available on the market, and can I get ahead, or do I need to start to introduce it from the scratch and producing some Labbies, head for albino, head for blood, etc., to get to the visual that I'm that is my target, or is there something available? I mean, but it definitely you need to put into consideration how many years such like building up such a foundation takes. That is definitely something like with a female, buying it as a baby. I know that there have been some breeders out there that are I don't know if they've been bragging about it, but they started breeding the females at the age of 2.5 years. That's definitely nothing that I feel or ever felt good about it. But that's just me. So I always calculate with 4 years to get a female started. And this also leads to the fact that sometimes it is definitely worse spending more money, for example, on a Labby double-head VPI snow, because, like, obviously, depending on what your final morph is or what you're aiming for, it is a shortcut of, I don't know, 4-6 years at least, depending on whatever animals you have already in stock.
Yeah, and it's always going to be like, you never know, like it's the same, like some males can breed when they are 18 months old, some need to be 2.5, and some males will never breed. And it's the same, like, I think it's the first year, like we have one Hypolabby Het VPI Snowglow female that she's turning 7 this year. It looks like she's actually going to ovulate, finally. But yeah, like if you can't like schedule it, like plan for it, it's going to be 5 years. You can hope for it. You can have an idea in the breeding planning, it's going to take this amount of time. But that's also why you should have multiple animals in the project, like not tying yourself up to one male and one female. And it's like, even if like just one male is not enough.
This is like why, in my opinion, the ratio like 2 males to 4 females is like, I always want to have more females than males, because a male I can give a shot, or I can let him give a shot with different females. But like with one female, obviously, hop or top, like she takes or she doesn't take. And so this is, for me, it is always like a ratio of having one male to a ratio to 2 to 3 females. Obviously, that's also depending on the available space that you have. And this is why you should pick the projects that you are following closely. Like a lot of people we know that they are rushing into, they are buying like possibly every morph that they can somehow get, but then you end up like with a bunch of so different morphs and they don't really fit to each other. So it is better to be like, okay, I have 1, 2, 3 goals, and I want to focus on this.
Yeah,
and this is like,
and this is something like we've been talking about quite clearly in Boa University. I think like the focus and like the assignments that's been to like focus on the different projects, because you see so many that have all these scattered collections, because it's not breeding programs, it's scattered collections where like it's single animals in each different project. And sure, they look cool, and you're probably going to gain a lot of followers on social media from it.
There's definitely nothing wrong with it if you decide to be just a collector.
Yeah.
And this
It's
is
nothing wrong to be a collector.
important. Like not everyone needs to be a breeder, and but I mean I totally get it. Like when I received my first clutch of corn snakes in my student room, I was hatching the first babies, and I was like freaking out, calling my mom, and I was like, I'm a dad, and she was like almost fainting. and I was, I got a couple of corn snakes born in my room, and they've been 100% head for albino back then. It was a great feeling, and I was so pissed that even like 20 years ago,
It wasn't
I was
anything
begging.
special.
I was begging the people. Okay, come on, $15.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Let's make it 10." You gotta be kidding me! It's this is like the painful part. And this, I totally get it. That it's a super exciting experience to see baby boars being born, or to just get to the enclosure and see a litter of newborn babies. Is just amazing. But if this is a breeding of like poss heads that no one is wanting anymore, then you really get a challenge to sell those animals.
Yeah. And I also think like seeing it in the direction like everyone can buy a pair of boa and breed them. But is it actually everyone's right to breed boas? Or, in my opinion, you should see it like it's the day you decide, okay, I'm going to breed animals, no matter if it's boas or something else, actually. Then you are taking on a responsibility, and it's not only for like the animals you're producing to understand what you're doing, creating nice, healthy animals, good structure and everything. But it's also for the long term, especially like if we're talking reptile hobby now, like the long term longevity of the hobby, that we're actually going to be able to do this, that you are responsible, that you can care for these animals. Are you prepared to house a whole litter of 30 boas for 2 years if they don't sell? What's your backup plan if they don't sell? Like putting them in the freezer isn't an option. That's an unresponsible way to go about it. I know there's people out there that do it that way, but this is something like
Or they have a king cobra.
Yeah, but then it's better at least. Then it's doing some use, but it's definitely not the way to go about it. So yeah, any thoughts about that, guys?
I think you guys summed that right up really good. It's really easy to get in and say, I want to do this. And so you buy a specific pair of snakes to raise up to breed. Then you may find out that they don't want to breed. So when you've limited yourself to just one snake and one male and one female, you're kind of, you're taking a chance. You may get lucky and they may pair up in a reasonable amount of time when they're like 4 or 5 years old and you're successful. They may not. Like you said, you may have a male that male just doesn't want to breed. Maybe he doesn't want to breed with that female. Maybe he'd breed with another one. Maybe he'll just never breed with anything, or vice versa. It's the female. You can't get a female is not interested in being bred. Or like you said, it could take years and years and years just to get a female to ovulate. So even if she is with a male that wants to breed, if she's not ready to breed, so having multiple snakes is a key factor within projects, or at least having snakes that you can have alternate projects for. So if you have a male and a female that you really want them to work, but if they don't, you have a alternate project for them. And at least that's another direction you can go that will help you produce what you're looking for.
Yeah, I was going to make a comment relative to how the program that you've set up has helped to refine and define the way that I see the breeding projects that we're working on at Astral Boas, and the depth and clarity of the program and the collaborative nature of the relationships inside of Boa University has been extremely helpful in being able to give direction and insights into places that I didn't realize I had weaknesses in the program, and I have helped shore those up in a very, very quick way. And so I'm grateful for that participation, and I think that the idea of being able to create a community of responsible breeders who want to be able to take the living art ideas that we have and what we want to be able to make from those that are different, but to be able to take those and make them in a refined manner and with insight that you guys have brought to the table from over probably 30 years combined breeding has been impactful. And so I just wanted to share that portion, and then just ask a question. So this one is a little bit maybe more on stabilization of color. So in your program, because when you breed and you get your holdbacks, sometimes color comes in, over time, right? So sometimes you get a popping baby that looks beautiful, and then and that fades, okay. And then sometimes you get somebody who looks kind of normal or less impressive, and then over time, wow, they become something that holds that color, multi-generationally. What timetable do you set to be able to do that evaluation as to what you're gonna hold back, and how do you make that, or how would you counsel us to be able to make that useful in our plans if we were trying to be able to have that stabilization effect of color?
You or me? Yeah.
Go first.
Okay. I'd say we're in general looking at holdbacks. You're picking the ones when they are babies. Then you do a re-evaluation somewhere between they are 12 and 18 months. And there's always going to be some that don't make the cut then. That they are maybe not living up to the highest extreme standard that you set. They are still good enough that they made the holdback cut from the start. So yeah, it definitely takes time, and in general the T positives are harder because there are so many that can look quite ordinary as babies, and they develop insanely when they are 18 to 24 months. So that's definitely a difficult thing of it. On the T minus part, I know since you T minus and blood in the project, those ones are harder. There's a lot of them that looks punchy as babies, but don't hold the collar, and this is something that is almost impossible to showcase on video, because there's definitely signs where you can look at them as babies and determine, not 100%, but be quite sure that okay, this one is going to retain a lot more color than the average baby.
But once again, it totally depends on in my opinion, Red Dragon Labby, for example, they are aging like a fine wine.
Yeah.
As babies, when I had the first litter of Red Dragon Labbies, I wasn't that impressed. Nope. Directly after birth, but even after the first chat, it was a beautiful animal, but it was nothing exceptional. But then they get way more white, and the yellow really starts popping, and then that is probably one of the exceptions for the T minus that I see, where it's the other way around. But usually yes, it really I definitely can say that I've seen it all. Sometimes you pick an animal and they turn out not to be the most beautiful one, and sometimes I decide to let go an animal and then I reverse my choice. 1.5 years later, I'm thank God no one bought it. So
Yeah, I think like that's actually quite interesting, and that's happening like every season. Like you're doing like the cleaning, going through the racks, looking, and then all of a sudden you're like, why doesn't this have a holdback card? Because it didn't look exceptional when it was a baby, and they're like, the wise thing at least is to like really make sure that the whole litters are established before delivered. Like you see so many times the babies are delivered when they are 2 months old, 3 months old, and for sure, like depending on like the amount of room, sometimes maybe you have to move some stuff, but it's always good to keep things like, I definitely think like 3 months is young, because like making sure that they are established on food and really thriving is hard to say, because things can change, and especially like depending on morphs, like what we touched on feeding before, like some are more sensitive than others, and like sending an exclusive animal to someone that's not used to care for that type of animal and feeding them too much, and you end up killing the animal. And yeah. Now I went off course. I hope it answered the question, Caleb.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was a good discussion on it. It is complex. I was just kind of thinking. I just wanted to know what your thoughts were, and that was perfect. Thank you.
So we're going to do. Let's see. We're waiting for that. We can do Thomas from Poland in Boa University first. Is asking until what age are females fertile, and this can differ a lot. There's females that can be 20 years old that breeds, and you have females that never make it past 10 before they pass away, and this is all due to how you keep the animals, feed them.
yeah, I mean, at what age are females fertile? If you
Until what age?
pardon?
Until what age?
Until.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Then I got it wrong. You answered it.
Yeah.
Answered it. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Let's
think
go.
it's the same with males. I think the oldest male we have breeding now is like 15 years old or something. Very experienced breeder who don't put any effort in on the female before she starts to get ready. He's an experienced guy, know what to do. Not like the young guys that's spreading their seed all over the cage.
Always on the back.
Yeah, or on the head. So yeah, I think before we jump a little more, move forward with more questions, I was wanting to ask the three of you that are joining us, like your experience about Boa University, and what's your biggest takeaway from it has been. And try to keep it quite short. We don't need to talk about this for an hour.
I'm happy to start if you want.
Yes.
I mean, for me, it's been a real eye-opener. I think the complexity of breeding is, I come from a background of breeding other animals, other species, and I've come back to the world of reptiles. And I think it's been fantastic for me to really get a good grounding in planning. I think, and Tim hinted on it earlier, and it's certainly been mentioned a few times, so many people rush into it, buy a lot of animals, don't think through it, and buy for morphs. And I have to say, I was guilty of that myself at the beginning. And then to take that step back and really think about, a label isn't a label. You've got to look at the animal, you've got to look at so much more about it. So for me, it was one of the biggest things that I've learned is the holistic view at it and being organized, and then doing that within a community where you can discuss it with other people who are on the same learning path as you, or have different experiences. I think that just really enriches it. For me, that's been the biggest thing.
Nice to hear. Thomas?
For me, Yeah, for me, it's been as well very eye opening. And going into this, I had been debating because there's other people that have similar programs, but this one was being set up considerably different. And so that was why I decided to go with you. You're using an actual educational type platform and set this whole program up under with more of a traditional educational approach. So for me, I felt like that was quite a bit more advanced from what I see other people doing that are just doing general live streams or putting out a few videos and general interaction. And it makes it a little more, I don't know, not as organized. I guess I'll just leave it at that. Whereas this is starting as a program that's much more organized, and you're giving people assignments to work on, which makes people think about what they're doing. Secondly, getting one reaffirming my thought processes and my actions on what I want to do, my intents in them. Am I doing things the right way? So I'm either going to get reaffirmed that yes, I am doing things the right way, or I need to rethink and reevaluate strategies, which I have had to do in some areas. But it is good to know that like there's other like-minded people that have the same ethical values and how they want to progress and grow and keep that momentum going. But yes, like was previously mentioned, being able to look and learn, and I've learned so much in just this short amount of time, and we have so much more to go through over the years. And this with this program has made me step back and think, especially when it comes to evaluating snakes, is a snake going to be one that you really should be buying or not? And everybody here knows the one that I talked about that didn't make it from a purchase and was, because I, at that time, wasn't really sure what to exactly look for. Well, after that experience, that helped considerably with what I need to start looking for. And then you guys presenting, a formula for how to evaluate snakes to determine what you want. And it's more than just the morph of the snake. There's so much more with the snake is it healthy? Is it worth investing in? Not just because it has 2 or 3 recessive genes. And working with people that are producing good, high quality animals. And that's where you should be investing your money and purchasing high quality animals. Not everybody's a huge breeder. We're all going to be small. I'm not going to start out, and I'm not producing snakes yet. I'm building up to that. I've got 2 to 3 years away yet. So it's going to take some time. So I also look at it, this is investing in myself by utilizing you guys to help me keep going in the right direction and to be successful. Hope that made sense.
Yes, glad to hear, because it's actually like hits one of the key points. It's like it's been addressed from the start that Boa University definitely isn't for everyone. It's for the ones that actually want to do things right, not the fast way. Like there's no shortcuts. And I think like the lessons themselves, like for sure they are informative, but I think that if you're not putting your time in doing the assignments, it's like we can see it as a homework or we can see it as a tool connected to to develop it. And like the ones that really putting their time and thought and effort into the different assignments, you can really see like the development curve is going straight up, like so quickly, like the understanding like, oh, this is something that I never thought about. And like there's so many questions being answered that the members actually has verified that okay, these questions are being answered in the different modules with the different tools assigned to them, that I definitely wish that I knew when I got started. So it's really good to hear what you're saying about it, Thomas.
Thanks.
Anything else?
It's definitely Yeah, I'm just going to put a couple of things on the table that have been impressive and have made a huge difference. One, I would say your commitment to being able to be interactive and actually completely involved in the program. I've been super impressed that as homework assignments, and when I say homework assignments, these really are things that that are questions you probably wouldn't get around to asking in your program until you were 10 years in. And so being able to start off having that base work of, hey, these are really important foundational pieces that you need to make sure are part of your program and that you need to define the standards of, and to be able to really commit to what you are trying to be able to build, is super important, or at least it's been super helpful from my perspective. Also, the ability to be able to see other people's really, really great work and their thoughts on it. I mean, I learned a ton from Ralph as he did the last project that we were working on. His commitment to being able to define the standards for the different programs and how he was going to be able to test for different aspects that he wanted to incorporate, I thought was fantastic. But your commitment, Stefan, to be able to actually get into the weeds and to be able to help each individual student has been super impressive, and I think it's made a huge difference with the way that you've laid out that coursework and been able to give people the opportunity to really dive in and to think of this from a long-term perspective, especially if we're talking, and we haven't really even gotten into the financial aspects, because you have to be a successful and good breeder before you're going to be able to have it be something that's financially successful. But we've been through that course of discussion, and I think it's super. So I would recommend it to anybody who is, even to some. I actually recommended it to someone who I know is a successful breeder currently this last week. I said, you should jump on here and be able to come, and I promise you'll learn 3 or 4 things that are going to impact your business, inside the first 2 weeks. So that's my take.
Glad to hear. It's good to hear that. The positive thoughts, and definitely like to give a nice shout out to Ralph that we have with us. Like, we have had some discussion outside the platform with some feedback, to improve things where we actually change some stuff to make it better. And this is something that still will come for every module. Like, if there's something that you feel like, oh, this is missing or this should be changed, send us a message and we look into it, because the intention is to build a really strong program that builds ethical long-term boa breeders, because I think that's important for the longevity of the hobby if we're still going to be able to keep and breed reptiles in 20 years. And that's sort of the plan with the whole certification process. People can become members of Boa University and never be certified. You don't have to go through the certification process, because this is also somewhere where we actually putting our name on it, that, okay, we approve this, and that's where the code of ethics comes from, and also the written test to be certified is that we can see that you really are thinking the way as a breeder, a responsible breeder should think, and how to solve real world problems that comes up, because this is going to be really important. Did it make sense, or am I just around?
No.
Yeah.
Just listen.
Yeah. He looked so confused.
Yeah, and Stefan, I just wanted one last thing that I was impressed by so far in the program. Also, the resources that you've been able to bring to the table, okay, for the students. You've brought in some other high-end breeders that are working on really unique projects, and gotten them to share with us not just what they're doing, but how they're doing it. That was impressive. And then you've also brought in some things relative to boa health that are sticky topics that I've got to tell you, I learned immensely from, and it was very, very valuable. And those are resources that honestly I didn't have access to be able to go and get that information. And so that's a big value for people who are deciding to kind of come this direction and be part of a community.
Good to hear. That's definitely the plan for the future. Now we have had a higher amount of live sessions with just the founding members compared to like it's going to be now after like the full launch. But also like the live sessions can be in different directions. It can be extension of different lessons depending on like the feedback we see, where we can maybe see like, okay, here we have to go deeper and be able to have maybe like a mini class that we did on like the evaluation of animals, or we're doing it as a live session like this. But then later also to have other people being the teacher of different topics, where like our longtime partner in Florida be able to talk about like the whole virus thing, but also be able to have other breeders specialized in different projects on board talking about, because if we're going to continue to learn, and this is something that we still do, like you never stop learning, and that I think is like really important, and it's always interesting to hear other people. So if there's any ideas that, oh, this is something that I think would be like a really suitable topic for a live session, then shoot me a message and we will look into what's possible. Let me see, we're going to go over a few questions. It's not really. Now we'll know Ralph is back. It's our Danish friend Michael. I think also it's about breeding what you like, not what others like, because the passion you have for yourself will go on to others. That's actually true, but this is also a topic that comes in one of the modules now, genetic value versus market value. And here you could also integrate like the passion value. You can have like a super big passion for a project, but no one else sees it. So maybe you're combining a ton of stuff, but like no one sees the value and don't want to pay for it.
I agree, and I disagree.
Yeah, I know. I'm all for passion projects.
You know, the thing is, it depends on if you need to, if you are willing to go all the way.
Yeah.
And you're willing to, you have the space and you, wait until others see the value, then it's like, absolutely. I mean, this is what it's about. It's just like, sometimes, but you should always also ask yourself, why aren't others following this path? For example, sometimes it's just like, I mean, this is a different one, but sometimes it's just stacking morphs up on each other,
yeah,
and having 10 different morphs in one animal, but in the end the visual is not looking different or better than the ones that are containing two morphs,
yeah,
for example.
Yeah.
And then it starts to get a challenge, because just because there are 10 morphs, I mean, okay, I can see a bit more of a value because you might be able to work in different projects with it, but on the other hand, it's for me it was always it needs to be obvious where the difference is. Yeah. When looking at the animals, if you need to explain it in a 1 hour why this is something special, then most likely it is not special.
No, when you need to do 3 pages on ChatGPT to conclude a document to explain
why this is
special
yeah.
To someone.
Most likely it's not.
No.
Yeah.
Definitely not. So let's see over, and we have Philip. Boa University is a 5-star program, and nothing comes close to it. Bringing the best together has made us all better. Props to ImperatorMorphs, Tim and Stefan. You guys are the best. Happy to have you on board, Philip. So here's a question. How many times can a boa breed in their lifetime? How long is a string is actually what I would reply to this. Like when it comes to female, it's all females are going to be born with a specific amount of zygotes. I'm not sure what it's called in English.
Just go ahead.
Yeah, that's what later on develops to the follicle and then later on becomes the egg. Every mammal are born with a certain amount of these. It's the same for boas. And that's why you see some females, like no matter of the size, you can have like huge females that produces super small litters, and you can have quite small females that produces huge litters. And this is something as a breeder to also consider when when looking at lineage. If you have females that in general like producing under 10 babies, then if you're only breeding this over time, you are going to see a decrease in litter size. This is proven in so many different breeding programs about animals. And that's why you can see you can have females, like first-time females, like record here, I think 61 babies, the first-time female. And you can have, and usually on those females, you can start to see, when you start to see a decrease, you see a step down on the litters. Then you starting to get to the edge, but it can be 3 litters, but it can be 10 litters. Now, probably not breed a female 10 times, but just to explain it. When it comes to males, it's the same. We have humans that can produce babies when they are 80 plus, and you have other guys that are not fertilized anymore when they are 40. So it's an impossible question to answer, but understanding the whole reproductive phase of, especially the female, the litter size, what that actually brings long term when building a line. That if you have a lineage that produces small litters and you're selectively breeding on that lineage over time, you are going to decrease the litter sizes.
Yeah.
Let's see. So
Stefan, while you're looking for the next one, could I ask a question for Tim?
definitely.
So Tim, have you seen any morphs that on this, specifically on litter size or on stability of litter count, that seem to have a positive impact on that? I know that I was listening to something from Jeremy Stone that he had put out a long time ago, I think, but that intimated that he had a lot of success with motley as females. Have you seen anything like that where that is, and it may even be anecdotal, but you have enough collection to be able to maybe have the actual data that you're like, these morphs do really, really well when we're talking about producing babies?
Yeah, I would we can break it down to morph, but I personally would break it down to if you have pure Colombian females like motley, like VPI, the tendency to receive a big litter size, or pure hyposalmon. Back then, when you still have been able to acquire such an animal, those been the animals with the biggest litter, in my experience. And therefore, obviously, if you have more of the smaller species, all the smaller morphs, red dragon, with blood influence, etc., there you see the smaller litters. So in general, it's also with feeding behavior. Aztec, motley. Also VPI and Labby, in my experience, are really easy to start feeding them. And then there are other morphs, even though they are like pure Colombian. For example, albino, T- albinos can be more tricky, or leopard, for example.
I especially think like the T- in general, when they are combined with anatoristic, you see them more difficult to start eating. But if you throw lab in the mix, they are eating like machines. So yeah, it's definitely like it's probably like the easiest morph to get eating, and motley slams food in general. This is actually quite interesting question from Michael in Denmark. Let's just see, we're going to do like this. No, here. So how many lines of pastel do you work with? A friend of mine did buy one from you a few years ago. It's a good question. It's quite difficult. Like today, like we've been talking about this in the Boa University quite a lot, especially like the polygenic section, because pastels are a polygenic thing. It's not a single gene trait. It is dependent on multiple genes in an animal to display the trait. You have all this like amazing stuff that people have created, like back in the day, like the pink panther on the VPIs, salmon hypo that you talked is a polygenic thing, pastel dreams, red rum, the lipstick albinos, like all of this. And like looking at the VPI stuff, like most of the stuff in the ImperatorMorphs originates on the pink panther. Like a lot of stuff is originating on like pink panther lineage, like from, because the animals comes from the lineage from Dave and Tracy,
yes.
Blah blah blah. And but then it's like several like different directions, like taking like the VPI snow and snow glow stuff. There's been more focused to like make them cleaner, like more to the black and white, where like the real black and white lineage is one thing, and then you have the more like green stuff that where it's really punched through. Now we see that
if all of them, like Michael says, like, but all of them did explode with colors at 1 year later, like I would need to know.
He's talking about the call line.
It's from the call line.
So it's the lipstick stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's definitely like something like the original animal you acquired from Tom Burke, and like the refinement. Like if we look at the lipstick today, they are actually displaying so much more than like just the pink that is like for lipstick. They are having like coralling and like everything. It's like a combination of like what people today are calling lipstick, lava, coral. Like it's all like mixed in together without putting all these fancy names on them.
Yeah, it is super difficult to. It is super difficult to have an answer on this, because obviously also we over all those years been combining animals to each other, and it is not always, especially when it comes to pastel, it's not always obvious like what you are working with. Sometimes an animal is not showing it that intense. Then it also depends on the combination that you are working with, and so I always haven't been a big fan of labeling everything, like
Yeah.
and this is like I'm super happy, like when you would say that they are exploding in colors 1 year later, then that's awesome.
That's awesome.
But
Yeah, it's definitely
it's definitely like nothing that I would claim to be able to. Yeah, some people go then they are working with a beautiful animal, but what exactly is it that makes it, like, in my opinion, this is like selective breeding.
Yeah.
But you are not able to be like, okay, this is a super duper pastel IMP whatever square.
Yeah, but that's actually like a question that comes up quite often today. Is like, why don't you name the pastel lines? And like, yeah, but we would then probably need to come up with multiple names. Like, it's not like ImperatorMorphs pastel, because it's like several different directions. Like especially on like the VPI stuff.
Maybe the shed testing will help.
Yeah.
Like improving this, but so far for me it was like, this is a red dragon and you bought it from ImperatorMorphs.
Yeah.
So, and then this is all I can say for certain. And I know that, especially with the red dragon labbies, that they are bursting with color over a couple of years and not like just after birth. And it's really increasing, but it's really difficult. Like, I remember many years ago, I was talking to Tom, and I just, like, a simple question, and I was asking, what kind of blood are you been working with? And he was like, what kind of blood? I bought a blood, and then I just been selective breeding, and I was going crazy because everyone was like, yeah, I definitely want a berry line. I want berry line. Yeah, but maybe shed testing will help.
Yeah.
But
you get to that
I'm
point.
not able to tell you, because I mean, we cannot talk to Tom anymore. But and this is what he told me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He only knew that he had a really nice red dragon.
Yeah. Sometimes.
To Stefan's point relative to to the shed testing, Dr. Ben has definitely talked to openly about the fact that polygenics are going to be hard, right? Because it can be all over the map, okay, on where those affect the genome production, and so it's not something that he said is impossible, but it's definitely not anything that's coming anytime soon. I just wanted to step in to be able to kind of make that comment, but also to let you guys know that I super appreciate being included today and being able to be part of Boa University. I have a meeting that I need to jump over onto that's work related, and so I'm going to have to pop off, but I want to say thank you to everybody, and definitely look forward to the next modules that we'll be working on, and all of the homework assignments. They're fabulous. So you guys have a great day, and if you need me for anything, you can just reach out through the program. Thanks, guys.
Super. Glad to have you
Thanks,
join,
Caleb.
and we're staying on with
See you later.
the other boys. Let's see. So we actually had a quite interesting from Mauro in the community. What advice would you give someone starting boa breeding project today that you wish someone told you when you started? Go, Tim.
I would say stop looking what the others are doing. Don't listen to the noise, because there is a lot of trash talk out there, and there are a lot of people that claim they know everything. Like, the truth is, the more you know, you realize that you know, like,
Less.
how to say,
You know less,
right?
Yeah.
And at a certain point, I muted every other breeder I knew, because I got distracted of what I was doing, and I was like, maybe I should do this. He's breeding that, and he's doing this price. And the moment I muted all the others, actually helped me on just focusing on, I think it was Alex Ormozy saying like focus, follow one course until success, and this really helped me because before I was like throwing me off, do I really do the right thing, and yeah, I think I would pick this.
Yeah, no, it's actually good. Definitely think like that's one of the reasons why we see so many that people that have actually initially have the intention to become a breeder, that they later on just have a scattered collection because they are seeing and they are, it's FOMO, fear of missing out. You are seeing like, oh, they are doing that, I have to jump on that, and you grab that and you do that, and you see someone doing like a setup that is completely different, and you start to change things, and so like there's in so many ways where social media isn't good. There are a lot of positive things with like for marketing and stuff like that, but social media definitely brings so much bad things, no matter if we're talking Boas or like whatever hobby it is.
I mean, obviously, social media is super important. Just like showing off the animates that you are producing, etc., etc. But yeah, sometimes, I mean, I get it that it's really difficult, especially when you get started. Somehow you want to connect with other like-minded people, and it is really difficult in the beginning to judge who is just like a large mouth and is just talking and not doing, and who is someone you might be really listening to. And I think this is a challenge, and I also see the Boa University as a place where you can like help beginners to be like, okay, go through this, and like you need to have a foundation first to go ahead, and this probably is also, if you ask me what would I wish, or what was the question?
What you wish you knew.
I knew, yeah. I would wish that there would have been a Boa University when I started, so that so much easier. Like in the beginning, there only been books, but nowadays nobody is buying books anymore, and like going through this, and I think, yeah, therefore is why we founded the Boa University, to give some guidance, to give assistance, and I mean 30 years of experience. I mean it's just like we've been through a lot of pain.
Yeah,
to get to this point, and like basically this is what it is about, sharing the knowledge so others hopefully do not need to go through this pain, and sometimes like the pain can also be like that you are wasting money, that you are losing money, you trusted the wrong people, you bought the wrong animals, or like sick animals.
Yeah, and that's what I think. Like the whole like educational part in the Boa University is like real world experience based. It comes from experience. It's not like hocus pocus, something that someone just threw together. It is tools to create something, but to make something out of it, you need to put the effort in. It's not like looking at the classes. We're soon going to go in and look at like how the Boa University looks at the Skool platform, but just like skimming through super quick, looking at the different lessons in the different modules, and like not committing to the assignments that are connected to them, because the assignments are tools to make you think, and to make you rethink, and to build a plan to not do the mistakes that caused a lot of tears and pain during the years for others.
In the end, like the pain like the painful lessons is where you learn the most of it, obviously. And I think this is the biggest challenge that I see, especially for younger people that want to start. They are willing to spend like 3K on an animal, but like maybe $600 whatever on this course can save you like way more bucks than you probably can imagine. But on the other hand, you really need to be humble, that you acknowledge that it really needs to, you really need to, how to say, take a step back and acknowledge that there are people, okay, damn it, they have been doing this for 30 years, like combined. Me, I think I started like 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's like how we're like, if we were to count like the experience for keeping like animals, blah blah blah, then it's probably closer to 50 now. But yeah, it's definitely something.
But by the way, I also did not always listen.
No. That's a beginner thing. Everyone.
That's probably like, this is why meanwhile I have gray hair, and that's like.
But it's not so gray.
Because there is almost none.
Okay, now I'm going to do like this. Make sure so you don't get deaf, because I have to press mute when I have to press mute. Sorry for that, everyone that was listening. So now we have the screen. I think we still should have Thomas and Ralph with us, right?
Yeah, yep. I'm Thomas here.
Sweet. I was actually thinking that I would bring you guys along and help me with going through the Boa University a little bit what it is. I know Thomas put out the question like, why Skool? And for me, like, we was looking at a lot of like different options for it, and had almost settled to do it on YouTube, because you can set up courses and stuff like that, but there's no good community part for it, and they also have higher fees. But then to have a community, you have to connect the Discord, and it's definitely not becoming the same thing. Video quality wise, YouTube is a little bit ahead. It's still possible to do things on YouTube and connect it to Skool if you like. But Skool is really putting immense energy into improving things over the course of time. And I really like the simplicity of it. There's definitely some features that I wish were available. But all in all, I think it's like quite nice. And what I definitely really like with the Boa University, what it's become, is how alive the community has come. And so yeah, Thomas, Ralph, anything to say about like the community part in Boa University?
Yeah, I'll jump on really quick here. What I really like about this platform, and when I came into this, it was unknown. I'd never heard of the Skool platform, so I'm like, what is this? But as soon as I joined and you started and we got into it, I was like, wow, this just reminds me, because most of my college was done through online learning. So this really kind of brought me back to that. And I think it's a greater experience. It makes it easier and more simplistic for people to communicate with each other. Instead of just doing a live YouTube with lots of people involved and everybody talking over one another, makes it much more difficult to really communicate. And then at the end of the day, you're kind of left with, okay, y'all interact, or maybe you do the live and people are muted and they take turns talking. But the connection between individuals afterwards I don't know where that is unless you're like personally connecting with a few people and emailing back and forth. And yes, on YouTube you can have chat group going back and forth. But with this platform, like I can email you or Tim or any one member privately, and we can have our own conversations. And at the same time, we can enter these group chats that are set up and they're clearly defined. Talk about this here, talk about this here, talk about this here. Here's just general things to discuss, and then that's open to everybody to see. So the communication is just, I think, far superior, and the ease of being able to communicate and talk to people is far superior with a platform like Skool. And I don't know if the Skool is the epitome of all of these platforms, but it's a great, so far in my experience, it's been a great tool to use. And setting up this program the way you did by utilizing Skool, I personally feel is far superior than how other people are doing it. And I'm not trying to knock other people, but I think the way this is started and the way you're taking it and the way you're going to continue to refine it is going to be continue to be far ahead than what other people are doing.
Sweet. Ralph, any?
Yeah, I mean, I concur with all of that. I think the platform's strongly. I've not been on any other Skool communities. It was the first one. I mean, obviously they're out there advertising a lot, but the experience is positive. You know, got the area then for the chat, and you know, it's creating a lot of connection, and you know, you see the positive encouragement between people. I think people feel safe to debate stuff that may be more advanced and to ask really, you know, basic questions, and everything that I'm seeing in the community is received well because it's a space for that. So, you know, I don't think there's been any question that's a bad question at this stage, and clearly some have created much more conversation than others, but it's really positive. I personally, one of my favorite little things is the map. Just, you know, seeing where the community is around the world. There's me down in Italy. So,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
definitely
I
quite
think that's
a sweet thing.
right.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a multinational group. We have our guys in the US spread out from the West Coast. We have, I think, 2 down in Mexico, or if it's 1, and 1 really close to the border. And then we have some centered in Europe, and then we also have 1 in Taiwan over here. So it's like really spread out over the globe. So it's definitely it's quite nice. And it's a good thing to like see, like future-wise. I think when the group, like the community grows, to be able to like connect and do like live hookups, grab a coffee and talk Boas. And this is also like what we actually haven't been utilizing fully so far, and it's like we've done the live sessions, but it also is a possibility like to schedule like weekly live calls for hangouts. Here it's always like the problem for weekdays with the time difference from the US to Europe to Asia, what day, what time it should be scheduled, not colliding with live sessions and so on, because it's possible to set it up so everyone can just join and they can talk, but then it also requires like the discipline to not talk over each other. So yeah. I'm going to just showcase quickly what we have here. So first is the community part, and like it's definitely is like a lot of good, thoughtful questions, respectful conversations, and yeah, I just love how the community part has come to life. Actually, there definitely is like a few key members that is bringing it to life, but it's starting to get more and more people involved in the conversations. But big thumbs up to the ones that really are pushing different topics, coming up with ideas, and yeah. Then we have the classroom. This is also, I think, like a quite nice thing with Skool. You can definitely see why Alex Hermosi decided to invest in Sam Owen's idea of Skool, and that's why they are promoting it so hard. But like the foundation, I really like the possibility with modules, different lessons in them, the possibility to now have to, of course, pick the module that was a bad example to display like resources, but homework assignment. Here we have like the advanced quality evaluation checklist. This lesson is something that I am really happy with, like the effect it had, how people actually really started to think about reading Boas beyond color. It's like, this is a long-term thing, like the structure, breeding healthy animals over time. It's so much more than creating cool morphs. And then later, the possibility to become certified. And as said, I definitely think we're going to have quite a lot of people that will be part of Boa University, do the education part, that might not ever want to be certified, because as said, like, there's a stamp with the approval, and this should be a really high standard. It's the Boa University Code of Ethics, and then it's a test also to be approved. I really hope that it long term can be like really like quality stamp. Looking at setting up a website for it where you actually can verify the list.
Yeah, like basically it is like establishing a certification for breeders, and that can also be used as a guidance for people that are starting. Like like our vision is it that this becomes like a quality stamp that can be followed, and this is like, in my opinion, what is missing right now. That there is no test of people. I mean, we and basically this can be for like pet breeding in general. Yeah. But especially for the Boas, there is no such thing as a quality test of the breeder, of the knowledge that the breeder, and like also the of the like ethic, etc., etc. So, and this is my wish that like when you go through let's say morph market,
yeah,
that you can have those certification stamps on it, that you are really a certified breeder, and therefore easier to identify, because obviously this is one of the struggle that every newcomer is going through, and even the advanced people can still experience challenges with buying animals from people they don't know since 10 years.
Yeah. Any thoughts from Ralph Thomas about like the certification?
I think the certification is pretty impressive. I think that's it's kind of really setting that gold standard for people to aspire to.
I think people need to experience the journey of the lessons to understand it. It's easy to put a certificate out there, and you know, but it's not a badge, because I think it's, you know, like Caleb was saying earlier, the steps that we're going through really create thought and challenge. So, you know, for me personally, when I get to the certificate, I feel I've earned it. It's not, you know, it's not paying get a piece of paper. There's a lot of value, and you know, I think that's just it's a feel-good factor of having gone through the learning and come at that point.
really good point. It actually is something that you are going to have to earn. It's not something that is going to be given. But it's nice to hear, like, and that's what I'm really happy with, like seeing the evolution actually. It's not only an involvement of people, but in a lot of cases, like a true evolution of the mindset of how to think and see things after they have completed certain things in the program. So that's makes me really happy, at least. Yes, so let's see, we're going to continue quickly. So there we have the classroom. It also is going to be added later, like one-on-one possibilities. This can be like for any given task that you require, like reviewing full program or like specific things. So there's going to be some different options. Then you have like the calendar where you can see scheduled live calls, and here we can actually, let's see. We just talked about that I need to get glasses. So I'm trying to see. And here it's like possible to like do what we are doing now on Skool is actually like a webinar, but it's also possible to do like a Skool call. On Skool call, everyone has the possibility to talk, and you can do it like random hangouts where different members can hang out and talk to each other. Map we already talked about. We have the leaderboard, and this is actually a fun feature, I think, on Skool. Initially they are just named level 1 to 9. These are names that we came up with. This really proves like to build that you're earning things for what you are actually doing. When people are commenting and liking on what you are doing, you are gaining points and leveling up. And then you actually have a leaderboard where I think we need to have a fun competition for the 30th day every month.
I'm still a student breeder.
Yeah, but that's just because you don't post so much. You should be up here. You only need like 35,000 points something to get there.
Next week.
Yeah. But it's good to see the battle between Caleb, Jonathan, and Ralph. I know Jonathan is a little bit frustrated that he never able to catch Caleb, but he's getting closer. Yeah, and then it's the about page. This is where someone new is going to be greeted. Then it's not going to look like this. Then it's going to look like this. So you can join. It's $59 a month, or it's going to be $4.99 annual. Then it's still discounted with 30% compared to monthly payment. From the live started up until 12, so 4 a.m. Central European time, you can join for $3.99 annual. And you can read some testimonials of our lovely members, what they think. And there's also, if you click here, you're going to see a short video. What I actually think is quite nice, that actually is all tied to the Skool community or the Skool platform, to say I just have to do like this, is the possibility actually for members to earn money. Like I saw it on the Skoolers community, like everyone that has a Skool community has the is a part of Skoolers, where people like the whole affiliate thing with their own links, inviting both to the platform and to like certain groups, that you can definitely fund your own membership and earn money if you're like if you think it's a positive thing and have people that you think that they would be nice to join. It's like if you're getting 10 people to join with your link, and they paying like regular annual price, you're making 1K. It's not bad.
I'm starting today.
Yeah, yeah. It's good that you're set as an admin, so you don't have any affiliate link. But
I quit.
this is definitely like, I think it's a quite nice thing that you can use. So just a quick tour about the platform. Anything that you would like to add, Ralph or Thomas, on that? The platform itself?
I think the platform's fantastic. I think for aspiring breeders or those that are listening right now or going to be paying attention if they watch this at a later date, if you're thinking about getting into breeders or breeding boas or anything, you need a mentor. You need to get into the right mentorship. And, you know, this is an excellent opportunity and an excellent program to be mentored and help you make the right decisions. Like you've already pointed out, if you have someone to show you what to look for and what to do and how to proceed, it's going to help you build your little business or your hobby off of knowledge of others, and it's going to save you, as you said, thousands down the road from not knowing how to start or just trying to guess at how to start and then just repeating the same pitfalls that everybody else has done, and that cycle just continues. And in today's day and age, we have the opportunity to help mitigate that, so you're not, new people coming in aren't going to repeat all those same mistakes that those that have been doing this for years and years and years have already figured out how to do it without making mistakes, how to build a project. Like you keep reinforcing, it's like building a project, having direction, having a true vision, not just hodgepodging what you think is going to go well and how to put it together and see what happens.
Yeah. I think just on top of that, not just from a financial perspective of money saved, if we're talking about boas, not ball pythons, you know, you could be saving decades of time. That's,
yeah.
You know, you might have an idea in your head, but by the time you produce that idea, if you've not done the groundwork right, you don't actually arrive to the vision of what you're trying to do. And, you know, if you've gone through 2 or 3 generations of breeding, that's, you know, that's a long time to backtrack and start again.
That's definitely is true, and like that's what I really like everyone that has put up their standards, then seeing like your project timeline, Ralph, because like once, especially like starting to build like those complicated projects, is like when you're finally realizing in generation 3 that the quality isn't exactly what I expected. It's not the possibility to fix it without starting over.
True.
So, yeah. So I think we'll leave like the community part. Any other question from Thomas and Ralph, like regarding boa breeding? Anything you want to pick in his head? You don't see him so often.
Hey.
Yeah, we need to see you more.
Working on it.
I think I'm good. I mean, I have that list, but some of those topics could take all day to discuss in a group forum.
Yeah, I definitely think that if we were going through everything, we can sit here until tomorrow.
Right.
We have enough beer.
We definitely have enough beer, but it's most likely it's not going to be a productive live in the end. Let's see.
I saw one question from Michael.
You thought about
why did I stop with the sharp line?
this.
Right. The answer is focus. Focus and space. This is basically basically the answer, because like sometimes I see some sharp combos and I'm like jealous because I really would like to work with those morphs as well. But in the end, it's about focus and it's about limited space. And if you try to do all at once, then you don't do anything at all. And like with the VPI and the T minus albinos with the Carl strain, yeah, I decided that there are so many options I wanted to focus on. And we've been so much ahead with the Carl strain because this is the strain we started with. I mean, in the beginning when we laid the foundation, there have been albinos and there have been non-albinos, and you have heard of hypo, and people were assuming how awesome it would be if you combine a hypo and an albino. So at this point, like we laid the foundation and we're focusing on Carl albinos. And yeah, I was checking the option and then I decided to not go any further with them.
Yeah, and that I think like it really is about like the focus, structure, project plan, like just adding. We can just say like looking at either like the call or the VPI. Now just adding like an additional, like take example Onyx as an incomplete dominant like pattern morph would take up so much space, because once again we're not talking one or two animals. It's going to be like multiple animals to like build a project around it. So it's definitely need to be something that makes sense if it should be added, I think. And we see that we have some nice comments on YouTube, so just want to say that we're happy to see that you're liking our boas, and yeah. And if you want to breed boas like us, join the Boa University.
If you want to hang out.
Okay, so we have a few good questions here. What advice would you give someone starting a boa breeding project today that you wish? No, this one we already covered. I actually thought I saw another question somewhere. What would you say the top pastels are, and which ones do you see as being the best in the next few years? I would definitely recommend to go revisit the lesson about polygenic traits. This is like, in my opinion, there is like a few that are really standing out, like the RC lines, like the punch Richard has in his. But you really need to understand like the polygenic thing. It's like, we can take the example, like you can take like the pinkest Pink Panther VPI. If you breed it to like a muddy, normal...
motley leopard.
Yeah, blah blah. And you're not going to have like the super pink babies, but you have to get to the standard, like, okay, does this live up to the trait? I think we've already touched on this subject before, but I really feel like how the question was stipulated, I would really like go rewatch polygenic traits, that lesson, and like really think about like the polygenic standards, if you have anything like in your program that you want to put in, because this is so far more complicated than any single gene stuff. Yeah, I hope that answered the questions about that. Let's see. I actually think this is actually quite interesting question, I think, also, maybe to end with. Where do we go for virus testing? And this is like, yeah, we can't recommend different places around the world, but we can definitely recommend testing methods. And like, we don't have any data that supports like the difference between a vet taking the swab and blood compared to like home swabs. I don't think there's any like official data available, but it definitely is. I think like the blood and the swab test are rated at like usually like 99.67 something blah 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 accuracy, whereas like the home swab
If
test,
you do both.
yeah, whereas like the home swab test is rated at like 85% or something.
Well,
I'm not sure.
let's at least say we know what we are doing and why we are doing it. So it's not only just taking blood, it's also taking blood and a swab test. So to have like a double check. And then obviously when you're taking a swab test, it needs to be done properly. If you just like pushing it in very careful and slightly, then most likely this is not taking a sample. So it looks quite rough.
Yeah.
Because you really try to get some sample tissues. Let's call it like this. And on the other hand, like I mean, just thinking about it already hurts my back. Trying to take blood samples of a boa from the tail, at least in my opinion, for babies is pretty much impossible. You can do more harm than anything else. So what we are doing is taking the blood samples from the heart, but not we are doing this, like a professional vet is doing this. And this is something that I can also just recommend. Look for a vet, make sure, like I know that they are difficult to find and I've been very lucky that we have.
Inzwischen haben wir, jetzt seit gestern müssten es wieder 4 sein.
Und 2 Beine?
Nee, eine. Aber ein Tier sitzt ja schon bei Thomas. Wir haben jetzt hier noch 2.
Ach cool.
Ich glaube sogar, nee, warte mal.
Und habt ihr denn schon irgendeine Anfrage, irgendeinen Abnehmer dafür?
Nein, wir geben keine ab.
Die gebt ihr nicht ab, mit denen züchtet ihr dann weiter?
Das sind eigene Nachzuchten von uns und die wurden tatsächlich bei uns das allererste Mal weltweit halt geboren.
Weißt du, was sportlich wäre? Du eine gleich für Jonathan zum Üben. Dann kann er so 4-mal so.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Genau.
Aber
das wäre sportlich, kann ich nur sagen.
Mein Freund.
Ja, dann.
Ziehen wir es vom Lohn ab.
Genau. Und dann so 4 Augen, die da so richtig schön drauf glotzen.
Ja, das hat
und dann
mich.
mit zugucken.
Das
ja.
hat
We have to do like this. So now we should have.
Can I continue?
Yeah, now you can continue.
Sweet. So what you've just seen is like we really been specializing in doing this method with our vet, and she like we got to the point that we need roughly 3 to 4 minutes per animal to take the samples. So we're like including disinfecting, getting the next animal, etc., doing the paperwork. So we've been real quick, and I remember like in the very beginnings when there was just like they took the blood samples and then they've been looking for inclusion bodies. So they were like swiping it on an object, and then like coloring it, checking it, like that. There was no PCR test back then, and the first times we tried to get blood samples from the tail, and that can be a real pain. It took us sometimes for 5 animals more than an hour, and that was just yeah, just a pain. But on the other hand, it really is important that you get you find yourself a specialized vet, because I heard of a university, and I believe they had like 30% fatalities after trying this. So
it's definitely a lot of veterinarians that don't want to do it, because if you don't know what you're doing, and when you do like the suction from the heart collapses. Yeah. But definitely it's wise, if possible, to get the possibility to do both blood and swab, and it's same. The intention with the video was actually to show the swab, but it's in the second video, and I don't have it available. It's on a hard drive, because that's when the vet actually does the swab, and it's quite brutal.
yes,
It looks. It's not like when you see people doing this by themselves. They are just touching inside the mouth. It's really going like down the throat and like and out. Yeah. So there's definitely.
it's about taking samples.
It's about taking samples. Yes. Sweet. So we are, even with the technical issues at the start, we are past 2 hours, I think. Definitely took a little bit of time to get things going. And the mistake of the time difference with the daylight saving in the US.
We had some learnings again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good, like we got the feedback also from Thomas that he's seen others when they are sharing, because this setup always works when you just do it at Boa University. But now when streaming it to other services as well, apparently it didn't work as intended. So I hope the members at Boa University found a way to like look at it through YouTube and then have a look at it through. It's also being recorded both on the Skool platform, in the streaming software, and on YouTube itself also. So we should definitely be able to upload it if, to revisit it.
So, quick question. When you're doing testing on a new acquisition for virus and parasites, how often and what frequency during the your quarantining period do you test?
Minimum 2 times. One as soon as possible. Like the best thing is possible, but it usually is possible. Like that you can do like with an own swab. But when you need like the veterinarian, it's usually not possible that to test it. Like it should be best to test immediately when it comes out of shipping, because then you have a, like higher stress level. So like, but then definitely like as soon as possible, and then later on before it actually goes in. And if possible, it depends a little bit on where the animal comes from, if there's any suspicion, like if the parents previously are tested, and like, but I would say like minimum 2 times.
Yep.
Yep.
Fair enough. Thanks.
Yes. Here we had Michael. Michael from Denmark drives to Germany to get blood test and the mouth swab. But there is still a lot of breeders that don't believe in arena and IBD, and that's 100% true. We're not going to have a discussion of that now.
Period.
No, period. Yes.
They don't, and we do, and
yeah,
everyone needs to decide.
And I think that comes to
themselves.
the follow-up question: how would you make others believe in testing is necessary? We're not even going to try. We can work on delivering the information about it, getting veterinarians to maybe join and do a masterclass about the whole thing here. But yeah, we're not going to go into a debate about that. We're like quite a lot. Now the Swedish guy started to get tired in the head. I think we're quite clear, like what we are doing and like what we are supplying with the animals we are delivering. But not doing.
Yeah, at a certain point, it is just the decision that you have to make for your own, and like the kind of value that you want to provide with the animals. So not just have beautiful animals, but to do like the best possible standard that is available at this time.
Yeah.
And there is a PCR test for a reason, and providing the PCR test is like the best you can do.
Yeah. So, I actually think we're done for this Saturday, unless any of you have anything more or anyone is quick on typing anything. I'm just going to look because I know I got a few questions sent to me. I'm going to see if we have touched on them. Okay, we're going to do like an ending question, and this is something that everyone wants to know, of course. What's a gene you think is currently undervalued that could become big in the next few years? This will be the ending question, Jonathan, and it's just for you. So, undervalued and the next...
This is from the university?
Yeah, it's from the university.
Yeah. The answer will only be written in the university. So see you later, guys.
Yeah. Maybe we will reply to that one in the university, actually. But that's kind of information we're keeping away from YouTube. Sweet. So I just wanted to direct a big thanks to you that joined us. Really appreciate it. Nice conversations. You finally got the chance to talk to Tim. It's fun to have him here. It's like we don't see each other so much anymore.
That's not all pressure on you.
No.
Yeah.
I think we're I have to mention this because we all know the joke that arabesque is your white whale of it.
It is.
Animals that don't want to breed, and yeah. And here we actually had a comment. I can tell you IBD is real. I got a nice arabesque het albino from a very well-known breeder. Knocked half the other collection, and that's all I have to say about it. And yeah. Arabesque hasn't been a lucky shot for you either.
Yeah, nothing to do with this, but like arabesque is truly my white whale, and sometimes animals that we purchased didn't turn out well in quarantine. And like the first male that I purchased, I believe in 2009, was a hypo arabesque, 100% het albino, something like this. And I don't know, he was gay. Like.
But do you know? I have a super good idea actually. We have a male that is taking up the whole cage up there. That is a visual arabesque. He would suit in your living room. I think it would be making a good, nice boa for you to keep at home.
I have 3 kids.
I want to see a vote in the community. Should Tim bring the arabesque het leopard male that don't want to breed because he's also gay? Because he's cuddling with other males.
If you
and only want to
if
eat.
you want me to get divorced, then let's give it a shot. Otherwise,
I think
I will be in trouble.
No. Sweet. I think we're done then. So big thanks to Ralph and Thomas, and Caleb already left us. It was super nice to have you on board. And wish you all a great weekend now. You might see us live on YouTube tomorrow also.
Later today, we don't know yet.
Yeah, it could be a possibility.
Depends on the amount of beer.
And you have the possibility to write questions in the community, and it would be quite possible that we might, before Tim is leaving back home to Germany tomorrow, that we can do like a super short if there's any like sudden question that has come up. And yeah.
See you there.
Yeah. And just want to.
Or
This is not live for showing off boas. Go check out Instagram if you want to see nice boas. This is probably something we need to clarify. Just Donna from Boa University. PCR test and NIDO. It's like you do PCR test for NIDO also. It's a different NIDO virus and arena virus. NIDO virus is actually serpentovirus, and arena virus is arena virus and several different strains. So it's different viruses, and depending on species. Boas can carry serpento, but it's not usual. But yeah, we can have more talk about that in the Boa University. So have a great weekend. Was super nice to have you here. Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care.